What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over some of the Gotham Knight Q&A things that happened today. So on their Discord, they had a Q&A. You could ask questions. They didn't really answer as many questions as I thought they would. There are some interesting ones. I want to read the interesting ones. There were some I don't think that were very interesting, so we'll probably just skip over those. My question was not answered. I'm not hurt at that at all. It was probably too specific. That's maybe giving myself too much credit. Let's jump into it. I do like the first question a lot. How alive is the open world in terms of civilians, weather, traffic, crimes, NPC interaction, enterable buildings, etc.? And the answer is everything mentioned in the question is present to some degree. Each district has a mix of citizens. Since the player will only hit the streets at night, some neighborhoods have more of a civilian nightlife. Others are more industrial and bleak. But you'll encounter Gothamites from all walks of life, and they will definitely have opinions about you and your vigilante activities. There's vehicle traffic of various types, pedestrians heading in and out of rail stations, city workers on the night shift. The weather varies from night to night while remaining true to the Gotham vibe. Players will be able to enter a variety of buildings, usually because there's some illicit after-hours activity underway, and there is crime everywhere, both petty and major. Can you play through the entire game as the same character, or will the story require you to play as each in different parts? And will some missions force us to play specific characters? Now, this answer is really weird. There are no missions that force you to switch characters. You can play through the entire game as any character you want, although there is story content and a few side activities that are hero-specific. We'll come back to this because that's, I think, the most interesting one. Then they asked about stealth, and basically the answer is everybody has stealth takedowns in some way, but like, for like a Red Hood, the guns are loud, so that's not like a stealth thing that you can actually do. Are random crimes completely dynamic? And then the answer basically is that it depends on the crime. Some of the random opportunistic crime will still linger unless the player moves to intervene. Most of the bigger, more premeditated crimes have a failure condition if the player retreats after engaging. And of course, once the player returns to the Belfry and ends the night, those crimes won't be there the next night. They asked why Nightwing has a Fortnight glider, which is a great question, and the answer is they just wanted to do it. They felt that it made sense with his design, and they felt that it made sense with his other traversal, how he moves, throughout the area. They asked about Red Hood, about his mythical, he was leaping. And the answer is pretty much they all, this goes into what we had all theorized. They each have a specific traversal thing that is like linked to them, right? So his is jumping, but they can all do parkour, they can all grapple, and they can all use the bat cycle. So again, that was something that we thought, but we didn't know 100%, but then they just confirmed it. So each one has their own specific thing, a heroic, I think they call it, and then there's the things that all of them can do. They talk about the counters. Is there a counter? And the answer is, so we do counter, but as you spotted, it's not in a quick time event kind of way. Our combat system has regular and armored attacks, which means they can't be interrupted by normal moves, so you have to counter them with piercing abilities. Some enemies also have guard block, which we counter with guard break abilities. So our counter system has these layers where you sometimes need to provide a specific answer to a specific problem. Many player power moves can't be interrupted, so you can sometimes time that to your advantage. That honestly sounds very confusing to me. Maybe I'm just dumb. It doesn't sound easy. It doesn't sound, not easy in terms of skill level. It doesn't sound easy to explain, which is not necessarily a good, in fact, to me right now, it's not a good thing, but I'm going to wait until we get the game where we can actually play it, and then because still we're left with the person playing the Nightwing Red Hood was not good, specifically the Red Hood stuff. They weren't a good person to do that, and until we can get it, you know what I mean, we'll have to decide then. Now, they talked about armor. Armor is interesting in terms of the answer. So they say when you get a suit or a blueprint, it is a visual style, a colorway, and stats. Weapons have a visual style and stats. For each suit you wear, additionally, you can customize mask, logo, gloves, and footwear. There's customization for each suit, but there are a lot of different styles for guns, tonfas, batarangs, sticks, etc. Generally, the visuals get more badass at the higher tiers, but each tier has a variety of suit styles. You can equip any gear in your inventory whenever you want, but for getting new gear, you return to the Belfry. They basically say you can pretty much, create things, materials drop from activity rewards, supply chests, and defeat enemies. You can equip mod chips, think gems. For extra visual customization, you can also obtain extra colorways, override the colors of a suit, and transmogs override the whole visual look of a suit. So you can play, or as you play, you can find transmogs for suit styles you craft often. So if for some reason you want to override the look of your ultra awesome legendary tier suit with a visual of the suit from the start of the game, you can do that. This gives you some flexibility if your favorite gear stats wise doesn't have the look you want and is all earned in-game. I want to talk about that one too. One of the final ones, if you complete a story mission solo, can you replay the story mission again and with a friend that hasn't completed it? And basically it's you'll be teleported wherever the person is. So if you're playing with somebody else who's further than you, you can jump into theirs and then go back. Similarly though, if you do that, say you jump into my game and I'm 3 missions ahead, okay? You play that mission. When you go back into your game, you'll have the option to start there and continue, or do the missions that you miss, which is actually very cool. I really like that. They talk about if the GCPD is going to be like good guys, bad guys, like a threat, and basically is most of the time they're a threat. Besides Montoya, you don't really trust them, they don't really trust you. They talk about Barbara recovering the use of her legs, and they're going to basically have a story reason for it. It's going to differ from the comics. They talk about why the last gen versions of the game were canceled, and basically they had to prioritize our efforts to deliver the game at a satisfying level of quality for current gen. We totally understand that it is upsetting to players who don't own a gen console yet. That is very true. They say that the Gotham Knights TV show has nothing to do with it, and they go back to say that civilians will dodge your vehicle. So basically, like the Arkham games, it's going to be very hard to hit them with the bike. They're going to end up dodging it. So that's pretty much what they did. Now, to go into the specific things, let's talk about the gear thing, because that was really interesting, and that's one of the most recent thing I said. I actually really like that, because that's commonly, and I don't really love it's like a snarky remark, like purposefully. I don't necessarily love it, because what oftentimes is what he's saying is actually true in many games. Oftentimes you'll get this super, like he said, right, super legendary, like this awesome, and I'm not saying for sure Gotham Knights will be like this, but some games you'll get like this epic thing, right, this epic suit in terms of the specs. So like the stats will be really good, but it'll be one of the most god-awful looking things you've ever seen in your life, right? And you'd rather have some of the more basic gear because it looks good, but the stats suck. And so, again, I don't love that remark, because that's basically saying, oh, well, this extra legendary, super awesome orange, outfit that we're going to have for you, if you, for some reason, don't like the look of it, but of course you want to keep the stats, well, you can just override how it looks and put the... So while it's a snarky, dumb remark that I don't like, I actually really like I like the answer. I like the concept, because that's good. That's really good, because literally for the reason I just said, if the early on... Which almost tells me that will happen, by the way, in terms of the snarky remark. They're almost saying, yeah, we probably will have outfits that do good damage. They will, like health-wise, they'll be good stats. But we assume players aren't necessarily going to like their look, or maybe some people won't like their look. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a system where you can just make it look like earlier gear, which really, in my opinion, is like, well, why do you then have all of the gear specs and stuff? But that's a separate thing. But I do like the overall answer. In terms of like the life in Gotham, I like it. I like what I like what they said in terms of you can go in buildings. That sounds pretty awesome. Every area is going to kind of have its own feel. Some places are going to have more of that city vibe where people are out kind of doing stuff. I really like that. The last one I kind of really want to focus on is the whole, can you play as anybody, or, the mission. So I've obviously raised this concern about 1,000 times. I won't necessarily raise it again. If you want to know what I'm talking about, just watch past videos. I don't necessarily know if I like the answer, but it's more like I don't understand the answer. You can play through the entire game as any character you want. Check. We knew that, okay? There are no missions that force you to switch characters. Check. We knew that. Although there is story content and a few side activities that are hero-specific. So here's the thing. The story content is kind of alarming that that word is there, but I'm going to assume what they mean is when you're talking, there will be content, because it's in the story, see where I'm going, where it'll be specific to whoever you're playing. So let's use Mr. Freeze. Let's use the classic. So when you're playing as Batgirl and you're talking to Mr. Freeze, you're doing a story mission. It's not specific to anybody, but you could argue there is story content there because he will be talking to Batgirl, specifically talking to Batgirl. He's not talking to Red Hood. He's talking to Does that make sense? So I'm going to assume that's what they mean. Because if that's not what they mean, I don't actually know what they're talking about. And then the few side activities that are hero specific, I'm going to assume those are collectible based, in terms of there's probably some collectibles you can only get maybe because you literally can't reach a certain area unless you have a certain person. I'm going to assume that's what it means. Or it could, and here's the thing, I actually am not opposed whatsoever to having like specific side missions for specific characters. I actually like that idea. It's more, that's actually kind of like Sly Cooper. You could, it is different, but like Sly Cooper, right? You play those games, there's literally missions for the specific people. You can't swap. You have to do the Murray mission with Murray, etc. And so I'm fine with that. It's just, that's not how the game is. That's the thing. They said that's not how the game is, so I wonder what they're talking about. So they left it kind of ambiguous, which is fine. We have time, and the game, you know, we'll judge it when the game is out. But I don't, the story content, I'm assuming what they're talking about, and hopefully I'm right, because if I'm wrong, I don't really know what they're talking about in general. And then the few side activities, I'm going to assume like collectible base, but it could be something else. And again, that would kind of be odd based off of what they've said, but we'll see. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. If you want to follow me anywhere else, all my social media is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.